So as this is the hi guys, this is the second battle of the Dark Dwarf League. I'm up against Vermin Swarm, and here's the map. We've got two forests off on one side with a field between them, as you can see, a house, and two hills. Now we did this terrain, generating it using the rule set, but I have to be honest, we preferred to personally place the D3 terrain. Both of us having monstrous creatures and a lot of, and in my case, monstrous cavalry. Most of the battle takes place far away from those forests and fields. He won the roll off and chose to deploy on the side with the two hills, I suppose not to give me cover. And we started off on deployment. So, guys, when it came to deployment, on this map, you'd see that basically I have the same list as the last time. Now facing up against the Vermin Swarm. And since he won the toss and chose the side with the two hills, I decided to just put everything on the table. I had my own battle plan going in, as the secondary objective is seizing the center. So I put basically all my scoring units towards the right side of my table, starting from the right with the Tusker units, both the heavy and the light unit. The heavy unit being the one with the great weapons, the yellow banner, and the other next to them, I put Lucy. Then a unit of 5 bulls with the fire mage. Then my boss with the mercenaries. Uh, Behind the house, I put the bombardiers who were on station to occupy that house as quickly as possible and use it as a fire base. Next to them, I had the bruisers with the two-handed weapons, accompanied by my standard bearers. So I had on station, in place, uh, 4 distinct units, 3 of them really near the objective, that could win me the game. Off to the extreme left, off screen, are these guys didn't appear in the photo for the deployment. Are 3 naked bulls, and really, I mean naked bulls. They're just 3 guys just decided to go into the battle at the last minute, so had no special weapons and nothing special about them, and they turned out to be the heroes of this battle, as you'll see. So, seeing how I dropped everything, I think my opponent was a bit surprised, and decided to face off my fast moving, hard hitting right flank with his toughest units. So from his left going across, he started off with the Abomination. Uh, Sorry, he started off with the Vermin Demon. That's the guy who has the demon body and the rat's head. Then comes the Abomination. There's a painted cannon framework that's a stand-in for a Doom wheel, or I don't know the new name. Um, and he's got 2 of them, one right next to the other, hoping to charge in there and deal some heavy damage to my right flank. Because I by now in our gaming group, Lucy's beginning to get a bit of a reputation for being dangerous. Next to them in the center, there's the Bell with the Plague Monks. Uh, Tough unit, hard hitting, and I expect that really difficult to shift once it gets into position. He's got on his right flank 3 units of clan rats. I think one of them with his mage, the other one with his general and standard bearer. That's like something about 9 ranks deep. So they're going to be really hard to shift if you get into combat with them. And in front of them, he puts his three weapon crews. One I think is the plague mortar, and he's got 2 gatlings. I have learned through experience that gatlings are very unfriendly, and I keep my distance from them. Next to them, he's got a unit of clan rats on his far right, and covering his advance, he's got the rat swarm with about, I think, 5 bases, so that's like about 25 wounds. His main focus, you know, must have been getting his left flank into combat as quickly as possible, so he could do as much damage as possible, against my multi-wound creatures. So the beginning of the movement phase sees very little happening. We basically stay where we are, and there's no real movement except on the left flank where we move up. But we'll get to that. Just shuffles around. I know that he's gonna move forward, so I stay back. I'll be quite honest about that. And I keep my wizard within range so that he could do something with his spells. But really, the first turn is really uneventful, as we just got off one spell, basically in the magic phase, to make Lucy one more toughness and uh, with a ward save, just in case somebody shoots her. And the attribute helps us take down two plague monks. Two more are taken down in the shooting phase by the bombardiers in the building, with some really half-ass shooting, to be quite honest. But we were hoping for better from them later in the game. So the Storm Vermin player, as his turn begins, well, he does the predictable. He moves forward, uh, aiming at my boss's unit with his main unit, but on his left flank, I mean, he gets some really high rolls for the obligatory movement phase. And I mean, his A-bomb gets 13 on the roll. Both Doom Wheels, or Dire, something they're called now, Doom Wheels, move up really quickly and are in my face, ready to shoot in the first turn. His center moves up as well, but in a staggered fashion. He moves up the Plague Monks and everybody else very slightly, and puts his shooters on the hill so they can aim at my bruisers. They shoot at my bruisers? Oh, well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The magic phase. The magic phase, he tries to get off some stuff, but it fails. He eventually gets off two very powerful spells. He puts Defilement right in front of my general's unit of veterans, and with cracked earth, I think it is, or crack the earth. He causes 7 wounds on the bombardiers in the building. Now, we had a bit of a discussion, since it's a line template. We're not quite sure how line templates work on units in the building. Catapults, for example, can cause D6 hits, but this, I mean, we took it to mean that every unit was hit. So just to go on the safe side, he caused 7 wounds, killing 2 of my bombardiers, but one of them was able to stand and did not run away because he was right next to my general, and actually between the general and the standard bearer, he stuck. The Gatling gun shot and hit 5 times on the bruisers with the two-handed weapons, and basically was not able to wound them. So I was very happy with that. The Doom Wheel, which is a big one, aimed at Lucy, and fortunately for me, misfired. She didn't need that ward save after all, so it got, I think, it got 4 on the chart, which turns it around at a random direction, and it just hit nothing at the end. And that ends their turn, since there was no combat. So the cry went up from the all the musicians, and ogre musicians don't actually have instruments; they just growl. And we made up a special growl for this battle, and went straight into it. It was charges all around. The heavy Mournfang cavalry rode out against the demon rat guy. While the light cavalry took on the A-bomb, Lucy made a beeline for the Doom Wheels, because she knew that she'd take them down. And the bruisers and the bulls on the far left went after the swarms that were were trying to slow us down. When we got into the magic phase, basically we were able to, well, we tried to get off a magic spell, and we were able to put the spell, the burning rampants, on the plague monks. So we rolled really high on 3 dice. 14 was the result, and he got 6. So it was like it was like sure a surefire thing. Um, it meant that that unit couldn't do anything without every single miniature getting a strength 4 hit in the next turn. So that was to make sure that they didn't join the fight. In shooting, not much. We took down one more of those monks with the lone bombardier in the building, and then we got into why the ogres came to the battle in the first place. Now, this turn, let's start off with the basically with the bulls on the far left. Well, in that battle, in that combat, we were able to break. It was amazing. We were able, with the combined attacks of the bulls and the bruisers, to put 19 wounds on them, receiving only one in return, and it being an unstable unit, it just evaporated. It just blew up and stopped being there, and that was really really great for us because we were able to overrun. The bulls didn't quite make it to the clan rats, but the bruisers, two-handed weapons, got into contact with one of his guns on the hill. It closed with us, and we were waiting to fight that the next round. Lucy, on the other end of the battlefield, she just wrecked it. She just, she smacked that Doom Wheel just with impact hits. I think she got 7 impact hits, and no, so, eight impact hits, and just killed the Doom Wheel outright. 3 ups, it was just the end of it. She overran into the Doom Wheel that unfortunately was right behind it. So that's not looking good for the Skaven. Uh, but we shift over to the A bomb. Oh my god! I mean, I knew any creature that puts out 3d6 attacks, whoever you send against it is gonna die. Basically, you have to accept that. But my very valiant guys were able to put 3 wounds on the A bomb just with impact hits. Of course, she was not, or he was not happy with that, and hit them back, causing 4 wounds, killing one and leaving 2 more in the fight. They proceeded then to, well, tie because of the charge. So they were able to hold the A-bomb in place. I didn't hold out much hope for them for the future, but you never know. The dice decide at the end of the day. Onto the fight that I really thought that would end very differently from the way it did. I mean, I checked this out. I knew that my heavy tuskers could take on the demon. I mean, even though he was initiative 9, weapon skill 8, I mean, he hits on 2s and wounds on 3s, and they can't possibly save. But they, I mean, so in the actual fighting, the heavy monk fang cavalry puts 2 impacts on the charge. He's got 2 more wounds left, but he's a demon. 5 attacks, hits on 2 or more, wounds on 3 or more, and he has multiple wounds. So they're dead, aren't they? He rolls and actually kills 2 of them outright, leaving the champion. Now the champion steps up with 4 attacks against the demon. He hits with 4. He wounds with 4. And the demon, with his 5-up save, fails all 4 rolls. It was incredible to watch a lone champion of a Tusker unit take down a demon rat. So, wow, this game really is about the dice, and you really have to you really have to plan for things not to work out the way you want them to. So we now move into the Storm Vermin turn 2, and there are no charges. They basically sit where they are. facing the ogres. I mean, I figured at least Lucy would have been charged on the flank, but I guess he decided against that. So the guys just sit where they are, and in the magic phase, they cast Defilement right in front of my general's unit, so there can be no charge against that unit because there's no way I'm gonna charge into doing difficult terrain with my precious, most expensive unit on the table. So they just blocked. In the shooting, very interestingly, he decides to shoot both the Gatling gun and the mortar against my bruiser unit with the standard bearer, which is in combat with the lone gunner, lone Gatling gun. Uh, Skaven can do those kind of sneaky things, but I think it sort of misfired. Not literally, he got the shots in. He actually got a total of about 19 shots in at my guys, and with the distribution onto his own guy, he basically kills the Gatling gunner and puts two wounds on me, killing an already wounded bull. Sorry, not bull, bruiser. And suddenly I think he either didn't know or forgot about the rule of no more foes. So, which is very interesting that it happens, if it happens any moment between the movement or combat phases, I get a free reform. So the sandwich begins. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, uh, they turn on, with the gunner gone, those bruisers make a 90-degree turn and face the flank of his clan rats. And I don't think he actually counted on that, but that's exactly what happened. And we're set up because remember it's our turn next. The beginnings of the sandwich, rat sandwich, and Lucy. Well, she's on the warpath again, and basically puts 4 wounds automatically on not automatically, but with her impact hits. I think she got 7 this time. Remember, she's hitting with strength 7, wounding the Doom Wheel on a 3-up. So, yeah, it was gone. And dun, 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 Lucy, she picks up on her target. She knows what she has to do. She looks out of the corner of her left eye and she gets the idea. All the hunter has to do is sort of nudge her, and she turns to face the flank. So here we see the middle of the Skaven battle line is suddenly in a very uncomfortable position with strength 6 uh, bruises on one flank and, well, strength 7 Lucy on the other. It's not going to end well. The beginnings, as I said, of a rat sandwich. We are, but we needed that bit of good news, as what happens next is sort of predictable but still painful. You can't get every. And, well, the abomination gets rid of the last 2 guys and turns on the Tusker champion, who, failing his panic test for watching his buddies get crushed, runs off the board. He heads off to the west. He's off the field. He's heading to safety. He's sort of yelling back as he goes off, "See you guys back at camp!" And he knows when he's done his job. He's gotten his share of the spoils by downing a demon, and he can be forgiven for not cowardice, but a bit of a strategic withdrawal. So, in this ogre turn, we realized that we couldn't do the charge we dreamt of doing because of defilement. So it was up to Lucy on the right and the bulls on the left to press that sandwich into shape. They both charged, both Lucy and the Bruises, very easily making their charges. And oh man, this was gonna hurt. This was gonna hurt the rats. I mean, at this point, things are going to be really difficult. You kind of know when you have a game well in hand, and it's a nice shot there of Lucy just sort of getting into position. And after that, we just move up the bulls with the mage to support. the center of the line, and our general headed off to intercept the A bomb. Uh, on the left, our left, we had the bulls, the three naked bulls, run into that clan rat unit, and we were trying to see what we could do there. We had a pretty uneventful magic phase in the sense that even though I got dice, I didn't want to chance it. I went straight after the combat. I didn't even bother to shoot the bombardier. And because sometimes I don't want any this magical explosions killing anybody at this point. So I decided to just let things lie, let the ogres do what they do. In the combat, the bruisers get in obviously, and they smack down those rats. I mean, there were at least 4 or 5 ranks when this began, but by the time the impact hits and the attacks were done, there was actually no hope for that unit. And those that survived ran away, but was swiftly caught up by a nice roll of 11, which got me smack dab into the flank of that plague monk unit. On the left, the ogres went ahead, and they in combat caused, I think we caused somewhere about 6 wounds between impact hits, combat, and stomp. Whereas they caused only one, but they were right next to their general, and their general, for some reason, felt it was a better deal to keep the clan rats alive than the plague monks, because he was, to my mind, a little too distant from where the real action was happening. And the real action basically was this: Lucy and friends. I mean, it was nothing short of a massacre. It was, I mean, we stopped counting how many wounds were caused after about, I think, uh, 24. It just got absurd between the impact hits alone on both sides killed 12 miniatures, and Lucy cost 5 more, the bruises cost 8. I mean, the return fire was negligible. We even used the dragon banner on them and burnt up a few to crisp just to make it certain. And at the end, only one clan rat was left. Only one clan rat was left, and that clan rat stood by his general. He was just on 30 of the standard bearers. So being we rolled leadership 8 for being stubborn or something like that, and he rolled a leadership 7, I think it was. Sorry, and he rolled 8 twice, and was promptly run down by Lucy, and the Bruce unit advanced to get out of line of sight of his general's unit. And I mean, that was a really heavy blow, losing two units in one turn. Uh, Lucy is just racking up the points. She's just being like, I won't call her the word she doesn't like today, but she's just being really, really hateful to those rats. She's hating on those rats. So Storm Vermin turn 3 begins, and basically he is a little too far for anything to charge, so he doesn't declare any charges. I think he was kind of like holding on to see what would happen with his general. So he sort of just moves him up a bit and angles him in the direction of the enemy. Uh, the and this is this happens when I've never faced an abomination before, so I forgot that he is random movement 3d6 and can choose the direction. So I'm thinking, I moved up my general to intercept, thinking, okay, so he's going to turn around, move a bit, and then I'm going to charge. But I forget that this guy rolls 3d6 and moves wherever he wants. So he turns around smack dab into the flank of my bulls, my advancing bulls. I mean, these guys, I think they have Iron Hand, but that's not going to help against a guy who hits you with 3d6 strength kits before you do. So I was not hoping for anything at this round, at this point. Uh, he basically tries to get hunger off with his remaining mage on the clan rats who are gauged on the left against the now, I think, 2 naked bulls or 3. Well, I think one of them fell in. No, 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 no. I'm mistaken. They're still together, but in the ensuing combat, he causes me one wound and kills a bull, and the two remaining bulls kick the crap out of the clan rats, and they fail their check and run off. They escape just running 8 inches versus my 6. They're just a bit ahead, and I'm following them towards the edge of the board. This does not look good for that right flank of the rats. Uh, well, the A bomb. What can I say? Uh, 3d6. You expect a lot from 3d6. So when you roll 7 on 3 dice, you know that things are not. It's just not your day. And I felt really bad for my opponent. He's a great guy, good player, but the dice just did not favor him. And he got 7 hits. Sorry, 7 attacks, 4 hits, and 3 wounds, killing a bull. But my mage, because he's a fire mage, facing something with regeneration. Uh, he makes way and puts himself into contact with the abomination. The bulls get 1 wound off of him with the bull. Sorry, the lone bull gets 1 wound off of him, and we he my buddy makes his 4 up saves. I think I actually got 2 wounds, but he saved one. But he absolutely forgot that my mage has fire attacks, flaming attacks. Sorry, and oh well, this got really really nasty. The I mean, I couldn't believe this roll. This roll is just absurd. He rolls with his 3 attacks, hits with all 3, and wounds with 3 6s. I mean, taking the 3 remaining wounds off the A bomb. I mean, he lost 2 against the Tuskers, 1 against the Bulls, and the remaining 3, he was just lit up. I mean, set on fire, burned to the ground, and it was. I mean, I saw my buddy's hopes really dashed at that point, as we really took charge of the game. So our turn 4, therefore, I mean, with very little left on the table, is quick and dirty. The Bulls on the far left declared a charge on the running Vermin, and they kept running. They then ran off the board, sorry, and they then redirected onto the lone mage. I mean, yeah, he wasn't going to survive this. And basically having and everybody else on the right flank just sort of turned around and started moving towards the center of the board. Uh, at that point, I had 3 scoring units to his 1, and whatever I did, I was going to win this. I mean, whatever happened, it was already in the bag. But we like to play down to the wire, so in the combat, the Bulls sort of smack down the mage for no wounds in return, and he's just stomped to death actually. And we move now into the 4th turn of Storm Vermin. So at this point, the Storm Vermin have a choice. I mean, and that choice is who they're going to attack. I mean, I think in many games at this point you should be looking for points. But I think my opponent was pretty much demoralized at this point because I feel he should have attacked Lucy. Sure, she'd get a thunderstorm, but he decided instead to charge the bruisers. I suppose he felt that the 6 attacks of his champion would be able to do at strength 5 would be able to do a lot of damage, but we'll see that didn't quite work out. Magic, none left, and here's for his shooting. He decided to shoot the bulls. Yeah. The revenge is works whether you serve it cold or hot, and he takes down one of the bulls, and the other passes his leadership check on a 3. So he decided to stay on the battlefield. In combat, the general, oh my god, I mean, they basically, the general and the standard bearer whiff together. It's like they made an agreement to whiff, and they caused, I think, one wound, killing a bull that already, I think, had two wounds at some point, and or they killed one bull, but received 14 wounds in return. I mean, it was a massacre. If they did not have more ranks, they would not have been steadfast. And being steadfast in leadership 9 allowed them to stand where they were. Um, and wow, but where they were was not the kind of place you would call an enviable position. They were right in the middle of my lines. So Ogre, the last Ogre turn begins with the final charge. I mean, the final charge, the epic charge. Lucy goes for the back end of the unit, where making room for the bulls to come up. Um, yeah, I mean, he's probably thinking if I keep two ranks, I'd still be steadfast. Yeah, well, there was much hope of that, as you will see in a moment. The general moves up just to say, for the second battle, you know, running, that this guy has done nothing. Second battle running, I mean, he has not been in combat. He's showing himself to be a very strategic general who doesn't get his hands dirty but knows how to manage his forces. Upcoming battles may change that, but for now, he has not killed a single thing. He's the classic general who just sits back in the manor and eats lizard legs or rat stew. Um, so in the combat, I mean, this combat ends really. I mean, I can't. The entire unit is wiped out basically, leaving between impact hits, the attacks from all sides. He actually kills two of the bruisers, and puts a one wound on one of the others. I mean, good fighting turn, but really at the end of the day, the entire unit is blown away, as you can see them like chaff in the background. As the general stands there and contemplates all his many mistakes that led to this point. I mean, he's there alone, fire billowing over his shoulder. His rat is rabid with fury but can do nothing. It's really surrounded, and they run away and get run down. Lucy and her. I just sent Lucy to get the weapon screws so the Gatling doesn't shoot the last turn. And the Plague Mortar uh, moves up, and in the final turn takes a pot shot and kills off my lone bull who tried to run behind the hill. You can see him like sort of like fuzzy in the distance. He gets gunned down. So revenge is complete, but that's the only guy who's going home to tell about it. So this part of the battle report, I in the last battle report I put at the beginning. I'm putting at the end now because some people commented that the video was a bit long. I like to ramble a bit about just a little about strategy because it's one of the things that I'm also a 40k player, a DBMM player. I like all sorts of strategy games. So I try to play my game strategically, not just depending on the dice rolls. Though in this game, I have to say that the dice did favor me. I believe in Warhammer Fantasy, whether you're playing ninth or eighth or whatever you want to call it. You choose whatever is your cup of tea, as they say. Everything is about deployment. It's about the matchups that you pick. It's about knowing your units and knowing their capabilities. Um, for example, in my deployment, I set up my fast movers on the right, knowing that I had to get to the center. So the idea was to have my three scoring units on spot and the fourth one to come in on reserve. Now, faced with this kind of battle line, the enemy has the choice to either counter me or slow me down or distract me. He didn't have enough units to distract me. Though if I were on his side of the table, I would definitely have used my weapon crews because they're only 50 points, and they don't. I don't think they caused the others to run away, but they would have been a good way to keep Lucy out of the combat. And it's even it would have been even easier for him if he had realized the advantages of having an opponent who deploys first. I mean, I deploy first because I have a battle plan, which I'm not going to talk a lot about. But he had every opportunity to respond by putting his heavy hitters on the opposite flank. I think had he done that, he would have at least. I would not have been able to stop all four. I mean, imagine by the second turn, the demon was dead, two doom wheels were down, and the A bomb was wounded. I mean, and held up. I mean that's not the kind of result that comes from a well laid plan. That you know, I believe in deploying everything. I'm shamelessly open about it in my gaming group because I have a plan going into the battle. The great thing is that we know the deployments and the secondary missions going in, so I tend to plan for that. I mean, whatever the enemy does, he has generally to react to what I do. Um, Also, he kind of rushed into my charge range, which was something I was a bit alarmed about. Um, these heavy hitting units of his, I think, would have been better served if they had supported his units. I mean, he sort of left his weaker flank alone to my bruisers. I mean, the bruisers. I mean, I know in his mind he would have been able to hold me up with the swarms, but he forgot the fact that we impact hit, combat hit, and then stomp. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a difficult proposition for him to actually stop that unit. And if he had stopped it, I mean, I think his plan may have been only to shoot into the combat. That said, the turning point of this battle, I mean, the real win was me wiping out that swarm and moving into a flanking position of the middle of his line uh, at the end of his turn two. I mean, that was devastating. I mean, that positioning, not even I expected them to be where they were. Um, his angling of the swarm could have been better. Should have been angled so that I would go off in the other direction. I think he also made that mistake with the doom wheel of setting up like successive charges. I think he overestimated the ability of his units to hold me up. Uh, I mean, really, I have to say that's how you make an ogre sandwich. You break into the enemy's line and you turn faster than he can, so that you can get in there and smack down the middle. I mean, flank charges with ogres, you don't want ogres to flank charge you. I mean, that's that's not acceptable for any army, especially troops that can stomp. Um, so as I said, this point where we hit the clan rats, that clan rat unit was a key point for us. Yeah, and we were able to shift his line at that point. Lucy joined in the charge, and you remember what happened. Towards the end, yeah, the end was very clear. I mean, you have to think. Look at where Lucy is. I mean, you have to think where she began and the fact that her tally in the game. I mean, every one of my three units in that combat. Um, I mean, the bruisers took out the vermin swarm. One unit of clan rats assisted in the takedown of the plague monks. Um, Took out a lot of this clan rat unit. I mean, they paid themselves back several times. Lucy, just in killing the two doom wheels, paid for her passage, her points passage onto the board, onto the table. Sorry, and well, if I have to call an MVP surprise guy, I have two candidates. I have the well, we have no shot of him because he's still riding off to the west. He's going to be back in camp waiting for us. The champion of the heavy Tusker cavalry. And the mage, you see him there blowing his last breath of fire onto the enemy. His takedown of the A bomb with a 666 was, I mean, suitably demonic, and was able. I mean, that sealed it. I mean, had the A bomb been able to reach the middle of the board, it would still not have been easy. I mean, we could see a world in which Lucy again impact hits him and brings him down, but I would have had to work for that. As it is, it was a pretty good battle to test my theory that in Ninth Age, if you have a plan and you have a clear deployment method, and you know how to manage your army, you should be able to do well. Looking ahead, I have the battles coming up against a pretty tough orc army, and Sylvan Elves. Now, Sylvan Elves, I know they have the poison shot, so I have a certain amount of respect for them. So, but I know they will not be able to stand up to me in combat. Even the dryads. I mean, my plan is to flank charge them and take them down. I mean, I'm pretty much looking forward to that matchup. So if all goes well, I should clear. I mean, in this is the second of my four battles, and I think my general, who appears in this shot just because he's the boss, just because he wants to be gratuitous, and look at me, he's looking at the guys doing the work. He didn't even join the last battle. He did not deign to fight. He's still gorging himself on rat stew and barbecue vermin. A la fricassee, I think he likes it. And it was a great battle, a fun battle, tough for my enemy, but I think he points out that he learned some stuff from this battle. So I'm looking forward to. I think he's up next against the orcs. It's going to be a really epic battle. Uh, so I'm looking good so far to clear round one and go into the qualifiers. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next battle.